Okay. Yeah, they
No,
kind of
it's-
show
My people that I know are probably really unhappy.
this is what we're thinking of doing.
Yeah.
I did one course for 8 hours.
Mine's a 6-month contract, and
Cause I know the guy that does all my yard work, I keep counting that in the summer.
Sure.
And
There's nothing there.
there's nothing there.
There's gonna be a lot of plows for sale, I think, come
doing what I
spring.
did, similar to what I did all my life.
That's why I don't have the capital, I work for a company, they have capital investment in the equipment, I just
When you do
operate.
see them, it's great.
That's the way to do it.
One of the,
We're still, we will have, I keep
obviously,
thinking
why
we're
would
gonna
I
have a big one.
Oh,
between
no,
you and I,
there'll be something coming.
it's not because he's my boss.
But we already got
Nothing's
those
ever happened.
slots. You know, March is really only like 5 weeks,
Given
or
his
spring is only 5 weeks away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tomorrow,
days are longer, it's a little warmer.
Three.
You know that even if it does snow, they will melt faster. It won't be there for the whole time.
Real quick.
No, it's not gonna be there for 3 months, so I'm sort of like,
I wanna know what it's
no,
on.
that's okay.
It doesn't matter what's going
All
on.
the teachers
It's
are all
just-
like,
it's there,
we
it's
haven't had
always
any
there.
snow days.
And John is, he's just,
Gee, he had to actually.
he's able to deal with it better than most.
Yeah, well, that's why you survived.
Yeah, so that's always.
I mean, you've had
You have to turn the system on?
It's started.
Okay.
The other people are
You don't have to go
fictitious
back.
and unknown.
I turned it on.
Okay.
You're good.
I would like to call the February 8th, 2012 meeting of the Zoning Commission to order. Will you call the roll, please?
The trustees have had it for a while.
They have the same situation with the speed.
No, don't seem to.
Okay. Our first item of business is to approve the minutes of January 11th, 2012. I know those are in front of you. We do have one correction to the printed copy that's in front of you, where it talks on the page 2 about Mr. Creaky being elected secretary. The bottom line there should be corrected to Mr. Creaky elected secretary. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Mrs. Zimmerline?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Epstein?
Yes.
Mr. Creedy?
Yes.
Mr. Creedy?
Yes.
Motion carries, the minutes are approved. We have one item of old business, which has been on the agenda and continued for many months. That is a zone change request from M3 to R2 for the properties located at 3545, 3631 North Centennial Road, 8305, 8321, 8331, and 8360 Brent Lane by Lonnie and Mary Zervos, Robert Keller, Margaretha Schneider, Elvira Brock, and CF and PJ Phillips property owners. Now, just to give you an update, because one of the things that we have been continuing that for was sort of waiting for a resolution of the PUD issue. The trustees did have a meeting last night, and no action was taken on the PUDs. I believe the discussion is going forward that they may place on hold the overall rewrite of the PUDs document, but move forward with the PUD overlay, but they're in the process of making some changes in the text. So there is no updated PUD language at this time. So I guess, gentlemen, I would like to understand your pleasure with this. It's been 4 or 5 months, I think, that we've been looking at this. Whether we want to proceed with just an up or down vote on it, or continue it again to see what happens with the overlay. And if I would welcome any input from Mr. Nagy or Mr. Grouse on that issue.
Yeah, I think based on the discussion we've had, not only yesterday, but in the past with the PUD amendments, I don't see the PUD district taking place anytime soon, if at all.
Right.
I think the overlay is the direction the trustees are going to go, and I would anticipate that would probably occur at their next meeting in 2 weeks.
Okay.
And in that document, there's really nothing that would be beneficial to the residents on Brett Lane that that you'd want to put a PUD overlay on what they've already requested. So even if this PUD overlay gets approved, I anticipate it will, that's not going to be of any benefit to the residents on Brent Lane.
So then, I believe the issue, and probably the central, well, there's two central issues here, is that this was for partial properties. It wasn't necessarily for all the properties there. There was some concern at a previous meeting about one of the properties not truly being residential in nature, really having more correct stuff on the grounds, whether that should be separated out, and whether this constituted spot zoning. I think that's sort of a summary of the issues that we've dealt with this.
What was your opinion, Mr. Nagy, on the issue of spot zoning? I mean,
Yeah.
I've heard 3 people say, yes, it is, 2 people say, well, not by a technical definition, but from any other township looking at us and seeing what we're doing, it looks an awful lot like spot zoning. I mean, unless you want to really be a lawyer and split some hairs. So.
Yeah, I think you really need to look at the broad picture of what's out there. I mean, you have a cluster of single-family homes that were there probably since the 20s. At the time they were built, there was no zoning. You know, when they came in and zoned in 56 the whole township, you know, obviously that was an industrial district and with the quarries going on, and so, you know, they just covered everything. But, you know, I don't see that as the spot zoning. I think what it is existing development, and you're applying zoning to what's actually out there. You know, and I can appreciate the residents' hardship out there if they want to refinance their homes, or if someone wants to buy a house and go for financing. You know, the lending situation really puts them in a tough predicament.
Spot zoning is typically a single parcel, changing the zone for one parcel as opposed to several. And it's also generally considered an increase in intensity,
Sure, not a decrease.
not a decrease.
And it almost seems as though what we would be doing if we approve this would be correcting what our predecessors several decades ago perhaps did incorrectly when they came in and just blanketed it as a industrial zone. So it's not like we're trying to change, you know, the rules here, but we're trying to make it.
Remedy a situation that's
Yeah,
existing.
exactly.
Well, I think the point was made too that it was similar to what I think the term was used, the other century houses that exist at the corner of Brent and Centennial.
The Medusa homes?
Yeah, the Medusa homes. So it's sort of a similar type of situation.
Yeah.
Houses that have been there for a long time, yes, they are sitting in the middle of an industrial.
It seems as if I can remember all of the permutations we've seen of this, that it's the Phillips property, is that correct? That is the one that might not fit because of
the cars?
the cars and things, is that correct? Or has that name already been taken off, that family name already been taken off?
No, it's
No,
the
they're all-
Phillips
I believe it is the
property.
Phillips one,
Yeah,
yes.
it's at the very back.
Yeah,
I looked up all the properties on Arius, and I can't even find a CF and PJ Phillips. They may have bought it under a different name, but I mean, everybody else's shows up, and it's all clearly marked. All the print is in white, bright blue, M3 Industrial. So I mean, anyone who looked up this property to buy, it wasn't like someone slid this under. It's clearly marked on there in blue, just, so this wasn't an oversight by a bank or, I mean, it's marked, so that's my only thoughts on that.
But, and then there are like 1 or 2 properties that aren't included in this request, right?
Right.
And they just chose not to do it for whatever reason. Yeah.
does it make sense for us to approve everybody but the Phillips, or should we, if we don't think we should approve the Phillips, do we have to close this down and have the family start over? I mean,
I think
that doesn't
What
seem
was the
fair to
reason we
me.
weren't going to approve the Phillips? I mean, it was
That-
just,
Just because they're already in non-compliance.
Right, if that were to become residential, then, yeah,
They would be
they've got
non-
cars all over the property. I mean, it basically looks like a junkyard. So then they would be in violation of the resolution. become a nuisance property.
Do we know the address of that one?
On the back. Back of the property.
Yes.
8360 Brent Lane.
I guess the only, I suppose a couple of the only issues that I have with it is not that we don't want to help the existing homeowners there with the financing aspect, but when you look at this isn't even just one large chunk. We do have those couple properties that are out of it, and as soon as we change it, then you kick another one out that's not conforming. So, that's one problem I have. The other problem I have is that we are setting that zoning for that to continue to be single family going forward. And really, when you do look at the general area, if there's a transition going forward, what's the most appropriate transition for that property? And it would make total sense that that would be the current existing zoning of M3. So those are just a couple comments.
And presumably, if they did get bought out by somebody who wanted to put M1s type things there, they'd come back for a zone change. But this would remedy the problems that the homeowners are currently facing with issues like insurance and financing.
I guess my thinking is, just continuing the discussion, that we leave the Phillips property in it, whether we vote up or down. If the Phillips are in non-compliance and we rezone it to R2, they either need to get in compliance or they need to come back and ask to be rezoned some other direction. But I don't necessarily think we need to hold the vote up anymore based on the Phillips property. I think we need to do one or the other, either vote it up or down.
I agree, based on the fact that the information we have tonight, that regardless of that PUD overlay, is probably not going to be really any type of resolution. I think we ought to, in fairness to everyone, go ahead and move forward with some type of vote here.
Just do them all and then deal with the compliance issues afterwards? I mean, they've asked for,
Well, they sound
asked for it, so
Yeah.
then they have to bring themselves in compliance.
That'll give Daryl something to do.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah,
Say
because I
what-
don't have enough going on right now.
Yeah.
I can see the benefit of helping the people out, because it's as if they've been punished. But now that it's already established, what about the people who own the property around them? According to the book, if I read it correctly, if it is all of a sudden zoned R2, and the people who own the property around them would like to develop, they have to keep 250 feet from the side yard and 200 feet from the rear yard. So in essence, the people who own the property around them are going to be punished, and they can't use that.
But that's only for new construction.
Am I correct in my numbers?
Yeah.
That's only for new construction, though, that's not for existing.
Right, they will have to set back greater if this is residentially zoned. But, then by the same token, they have been given notice of what's being requested here, and I'm not sure if they made any contact with.
Yes,
They've
I
been,
think the only people were the quarry people came in and said, just so everybody knows, we intend to,
Okay,
don't be surprised.
Or right up to the property line, so they
Yeah.
told us that's their intention.
okay.
backup beepers, and I mean, like I said, this is an active area. There's a
Sure.
concrete
Yeah.
pipe plant across the street, so.
Yeah.
That's just my argument, to not compare it to the Medusa houses. To me, it's a whole different ballgame. You have a fallow field across the street and a bike trail and a abandoned quarry behind those. It's a totally different ballgame than forklifts and machinery and a junkyard and.
But that could change at any time. I mean, I know one time, the school district was looking at that fallow field, the Jamie Farr parking lot, and they basically got told, you put up anything, they weren't gonna sell it, you could lease it, but, know that, we might give you a 50-year lease, but sooner or later, we're gonna dig there. I mean,
So the quarry planning on going up to the property line?
They wouldn't excavate that close, they have setbacks from.
they have setbacks, and
Right.
they've got new procedures and everything
Right.
that they're doing now, but they aren't selling any of that property, they plan on quarrying it. They used to have big signs, site of a future quarry, when all the initial houses were going up out in Woodstream and that. I
But
mean,
won't the R2 setbacks take effect if you change it?
Well, sure, but I don't think they'll quarry that close to those if they're not their property anyways. I think that's kind of what he's saying. I mean, you're not gonna make a cliff edge 100
I understand
feet,
that, not the point.
but trucks, they can make a road there, sure.
The point is, if it's an R district, whoever owns the property now is going to have to stay 250 feet off the property line and 200 feet off, that's what it says in the book.
It's only if it's new construction. If you're building something new, if it's something already existing, it's just considered non-conforming. Not for something that's existing. They don't, when somebody splits off a new lot, they don't make you meet those requirements, like you're saying. It's just when you're building something new, then you have to meet the 250 feet.
How about a roadway or a driveway though that's not existing there now? Could they put that within the 250 of the R2 or not?
Well, actually, for driveways in residential, you don't even have to get.
No, I'm talking in the M3 of the quarry. Say these guys make R2, and then a quarry wants to keep a driveway on their property out to Centennial Road.
Then they would have to.
They would have to stay 250 from the R2.
When's the last time there was any activity out there?
What was your question?
When's the last time there was any activity out there adjacent to this property?
They're not, yeah,
it's not,
It's been pretty dormant, hasn't it?
Yeah.
That way, if the economy picks up, they certainly could at any time.
but they're still working, they've got plenty to work on down the other way where they
Yeah.
are right now. I mean,
I think we've listened to, at least I have, for quite some time. I'd like to help these folks out, I understand what the problem is, and I'm going to move, if I may.
Go ahead.
To approve this zone change.
We have a motion to approve the zone change. Do I have a second for that?
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any additional comment from the people on the zoning commission? Or I know we have a couple people in the audience, if they wanted to provide any comments? I know you've spoken before. Okay. Yep.
I do have one question.
Okay. Can you state your name, your address, and come up to the mic?
To sign in too, right?
Yep.
All right. Mary Zervos, 3545 North Centennial Road. My only question, the two property owners who did not go in on this contract, the Corderies and the Wilkinsons, are they going to be included in that zone change, or only those that are listed on the paperwork?
Only those that are listed on the paperwork. If they want to rezone, they have to file themselves.
Okay, thank you.
That would be my understanding, right?
Right.
Yeah, but we can't do it except at the request of the property owner. Okay.
John?
Just a real quick point. We did have an email, and we also had another comments from Mr. Cruz's last meeting. I just ran across this. It does say, Hanson controls the land, parcels all around those properties. It says, we wish to state for the record that our business plan is to continue mining operations on our property. If this zoning change is approved, there will be R2 zone property directly abutting to our active quarry property. Additionally, if the rezoning is approved, I hope the city and township will protect our interests by clearly documenting on the record that Hanson will continue to quarry in close proximity to these rezoned parcels.
Everybody is well aware of that.
Do you think it is worth putting into our motion that we recognize Hanson, and are we able to?
I think we documented that
Set
orally
this
in the minutes.
aside?
This is all taped, that's documented, I think, for the record.
Reason I read that.
Yeah,
But they're
and
abutting
that-
residential setbacks and screening. Are we going to dismiss that as a requirement to Hanson or
That becomes an issue for a different body,
BZA?
BZA.
And then you also have to offer that technically to Wilkinson, who's got the house in the middle, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If he's obviously already M3 with storage and a paint shop,
Right.
and he's one property that didn't,
And he's got single family surrounding him on three of the four sides.
Yeah.
or he has R2.
Sure.
Any other discussion or comment? Hearing none, call the roll.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Epstein?
Yes.
Mr. Creedy?
No.
Mr. King?
No.
Motion carries 3-2, so now it will go to the trustees, and they can decide. Because the process is not finished until it has been approved by the trustees, but we will move that on to them. Then our next item of business is a discussion of a text amendments to the highway and general commercial. And basically, I think it's a single insert that in the conditional use, we want to insert light manufacturing assembly in section 1402, which would ultimately be subject to approval by the BZA, but it would just provide another conditional use.
Yes.
And so the motion is to send this down to the Lucas County Plan Commission for their review, as I understand it. Is that correct?
Correct.
Do I have a motion to approve this?
I will make such a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Is there any discussion or other conversation that we need to have about this? Hearing none, call the roll.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Epstein?
Yes.
Mr. Creedy?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Motion carries. Is there anything else we need to discuss this evening? Our next meeting is March 14th? Is that right?
Yes, March 14th.
Anything else that we need to discuss this evening? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion to adjourn, do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Epstein?
Yes.
Mr. Creedy?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Motion carries. See you in March.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah,
Welcome, and we appreciate your
I think
insight.
this will be a fun group to work with.
You retired from the county, huh?
Yeah,